We've got ones that can see. Welcome everybody to today's show. I have to do another video on this absolute charade of a space mission where Katy Perry and 5 other supposed astronauts went up into orbit for 11 minutes and now they're being called astronauts. And if you didn't see my breakdown of this entire charade, it is available on my other channel, Nations Conspire. I'll leave it linked below. I recommend everybody watch it in full so you can actually see the rocket ship take off so you can see the CGI for yourself. But I want to start and do another video here because there's so much more to look at, as this is just a prop. This is a project of MK Ultra. That's what this is, because that's what space in general is. It's a mind control operation. They've convinced people that we can go into quote unquote space, that we could go to Mars now, that we can go to the moon. We don't go to these places, but they're obviously working very hard to convince you that we can, because they also need to convince you that when they pull an alien deception that they're real. And of course, we know they'll be telling everyone out there to accept them and love them, and this will be something spiritual. It'll have nothing to do with Martians floating around in space. So I want to start with this because there's some stuff that they released after the fact from inside the shuttle, but of course they didn't conveniently have a camera available for everyone to see. They just took a couple of clips, which of course they obviously filmed beforehand in the simulator that this was done in. But look at this on the screen. If this doesn't summarize exactly what this is, you have your monarch butterfly, Katy Perry, holding it up over one eye. And they made sure they captured this image and they sent it out to the world because this is nothing more than MK Ultra. That's what the monarch butterfly represents. This is a mind control experiment that your government has done on the civilians to convince them that all these things that they do on the news and all these things they do at NASA are actually real. And these people believe it, hook, line, and sinker. It's like the old quote that Richard Nixon said: the people won't believe it until they see it on a television. And anything these people see on the TV that they're told is news, they believe as real. So Katy Perry strategically holding up the monarch butterfly while up in space. It really sums it all up, or up in the simulator, I should say. Because Katy Perry loves monarch butterflies, right? Katy Perry's always posing with these monarch butterflies. I mean, she says a fetish for butterflies, right? Over and over and over. In fact, even at one time called itself the Monarch Mama, which really just sums the whole thing up, right? The Monarch Mama, Katy Perry. Of course, this, again, is referencing MK Ultra mind control. These are puppets of the government who are performing mind control experiments on you. And they're also, of course, products of mind control themselves. They're put through trauma-based mind control, and that's how they're trained to turn out to be what they are. That's why sometimes you see them have glitches. We've seen Katy Perry have that glitch on stage, right? Where one eye wouldn't open and one eye was frozen. The one eye was open, but one eye was frozen shut, right? We've seen the MK Ultra breakdowns of celebrities like Shia LaBeouf, Britney Spears, right? And we've seen all these celebrities obviously promote the monarch butterfly, but nobody seems suspicious about it because apparently we're supposed to believe that all of these celebrities put their money together and run butterfly farms, right? Beyonce with the monarch butterfly over the one eye, Taylor Swift always posing with butterflies, Lady Gaga posing with, the butterfly on its face, Miley Cyrus many times doing monarch symbolism. Of course, like I said, Britney Spears. So this is a mind control experiment, and I want to show you more how this has to do with spirituality and witchcraft. This is not a space experiment. This is a mind control operation. So for starters, the one thing that we're hearing is they're going to start beating things into your head now, right? And what they're going to beat into your head is this new thing they're calling space tourism. Remember when it used to be like, wow, to go to space, you had to be in great shape and had to be an astronaut. You had to go to some Ivy League school and train, right? Of course, we all learned that that was all fake when we found out who these people were and what they actually said. People like Buzz Aldrin even telling you that they never went to space. And then, of course, you could see their connection to Freemasonry and secret societies and realize this entire thing is make-believe. But now they want to convince you you could go to space. So if you look at the repetition, when you see the headlines that are out there, look for keywords because they'll repeat the keywords. One of the keywords is space tourism. And these are articles that are in the USA Today. Could you take a ride to space? What to know about Blue Origin after celebrity spaceflight. Right, here's some other articles. Blue Origin launches star-studded crew on space tourism rocket. And of course, another thing we should all be talking about is how we're getting this carbon emissions shoved down our throats every day from the United Nations, from NATO, from the World Economic Forum, from the Democrats, constantly talking about carbon emissions, right? But it seems like every other day there's a rocket launch. SpaceX launches every single week. Blue Origin launches not as often as SpaceX, but they're going up there pretty often, right? Imagine the carbon dioxide that's coming from one of these actual rocket launches, so to speak, right? And they say a single rocket launch typically emits significantly more CO2 than a shipping boat. So keep that in mind when NATO's coming out and telling you they're going to put a tax, like I've covered recently, a shipping tax on all cargo that comes through the ocean around the earth. And of course, you're the one who's going to be footing the bill. But of course, well, that's significantly lower than the private jets that John Kerry and all these guys fly around on. And of course, that's even significantly lower than these SpaceX launches, but you will never hear them bring that up because, of course, Jeff Bezos has a $10 billion charity, the Bezos Earth Fund, so he's allowed to do these things because he donates. Just like Bill Gates, he says, why put all this money into climate change and trying to suck carbon out of the atmosphere so we could put it underground and farm underground so I could fly wherever I want, right? That's the mindset they want you to have. And of course, even guys like Elon Musk with SpaceX, who openly tell you that we need a carbon tax, yet they're sending rockets up into the air to fizzle out and supposedly land again, which is part of this entire PSYOP, is how these things can land now. If you noticed how they're landing, SpaceX is landing, Blue Origin is landing, the shell of the ship is landing. They might have that embarrassing parachute of, all the people inside floating down and landing in the middle of the desert. But they're telling you that these things can land because they're planning on simulating this. They're planning on convincing you that space travel is the newest thing and you could go to space. None of these people would have a clue if they went or not, because they're likely going to tell you that it's going to take 6 months to get there. They're likely going to tell you, well, you could take this drug. When you come on board, you'll wake up and you'll be there. It'll be great for your body and your mind. You won't be able to actually sit there for 6 months inside of one of these things. You'll lose your mind, right? They'll convince these people of it because that's what they're trying to do. So that's why they're calling it space tourism. So pay attention to that term. And at the same time, of course, Elon Musk will colonize Mars this year. The world's shocked with his imminent plan, and this is all a deception. They'll be using Devon Island to simulate Mars. That's what NASA has been doing. That's where all those photos that you see, if they're not CGI'd and they're actual photos, they do it at Devon Island. And of course, that's part of the plan to get Greenland, because the military base, the U.S. military base, is conveniently located right up there by Devon Island because it's going to be a government operation and nobody's going to get near there unless, of course, they're allowed to get near there. No one's going to be able to go there and say, look, they're faking it up here. They'll get shot immediately, I'm sure. And the other thing I want to talk about, one of the other things, because there's a lot to uncover still, is the name of the ship, right? How in our faces this is. The all-female crew returns from Blue Origin's New Shepard. It's called New Shepard. And this is straight up mockery, as they always do, right? That's what they always do. In John chapter 10, verses 11 through 18, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd giveth his life for his sheep, right? This entire part of the Bible in John talks about Jesus Christ being the shepherd. And of course, they would name it the New Shepherd, right? In verse 14, I am the good shepherd and know my sheep and am known of mine, right? This is strategically done. It's more mockery of Jesus Christ because that's the only person they are. They openly mock Jesus Christ. Just like I covered in the video on Saturday Night Live recently. It's over and over and over. They detest Jesus Christ and they will openly show you. And that's why they do things like this. And then they try to get away with it. They're like, well, we named it after the first person that went into space. His name was Shepard and we're calling it New Shepard. Well, why would you call it New Shepard? Why don't you just call it Alan Shepard or whatever the guy's first name was? And just name it right after him then. No, they want to call it New Shepard, right? Because that's deliberately done. The other thing to note is the feather, right? You'll see in the clip that I play in a few minutes here of them arriving in these trucks that have the blue feather on it, the blue feather on Blue Origin. Okay, there's symbolism to this. They tell you that the blue feather on Blue Origin's logo symbolizes the company's pursuit of the perfection of flight and the graceful, safe return to Earth. But the feather is very significant in witchcraft. Feathers have a very spiritual meaning, representing air, spirits, and a connection to the higher realms. Okay, they can be used as tools for divination, healing, or connecting with spirit guides. Different colors and types of feathers also carry specific meanings according to some spiritual and cultural traditions, right? Nobody goes, well, why are they using a feather? What does the feather actually mean? Floating through the air? I'm surprised the spaceship didn't have a giant pyramid with an eyeball on it, because even then people go, oh, they're just trolling you, right? At this point, they'll believe whatever they're told. So in the occult, the feathers are often seen as powerful symbols of spiritual guidance, protection, and connection to the higher realm. So strategically, they are using the feather because they're attempting to go to the higher realms. Almost like the Tower of Babel, right? They're trying to break on through to the other side in a sense. They're trying to get all the way up there, but they can't. So that's why they do, experiments like Blue Origin, which is an experiment, it's a psychological experiment, and they shoot it into the air, and then they go, hey, we're coming right back down. And nobody goes, well, aren't you trying to go to like the moon or something? You're just going up there for a little peek, and then you're coming right back down. Well, they can't go any further than that. And that's also why you see some of the SpaceX rockets explode in the air, because from time to time, they still try to shoot things right through it. We know they still try to shoot missiles through it. They try to shoot whatever they can through it. They'll send these rockets up to go through, and they won't go through. Then they'll show you some CGI of the spacecraft landing. So the other stuff to look at here is very suspicious and very comical. Is if you didn't know, there are no publicly available cameras inside of the Blue Origin. So there's no cameras inside of this simulation that they're doing. Well, how suspicious is that? I mean, people aren't suspicious about it. Jeff Bezos is the man responsible for pretty much taking our privacy away with devices like the Alexa and the other crap that people put in their homes that spy on them, but also for the Ring, right? So shouldn't Jeff have put a Ring on there and said, hey, we can do so much with tech now. Why don't we put that in there so everybody can watch the entire thing from the inside? Well, they don't want you to see the entire thing from the inside, because then you'd be able to say, oh, this isn't real. So what I'll play for you in a minute is a little bit of the footage that they showed you, which they filmed beforehand. They couldn't give you a live feed of what was going on in there because nothing was going on in there. They showed you the CGI rocket from the outside, right? Then they showed you this thing floating on parachutes, and then they conveniently just showed celebrities hop out of, what looks like a giant time capsule in the middle of the desert. And conveniently it landed where everybody was. They knew exactly where it would land, and Jeff Bezos was standing right there and tripping, of course, which we'll see in a minute, which is one of the highlights of my week. But there's no cameras on the inside. So shouldn't everybody out there go, hey, we got cameras everywhere. I can't even check out a Walmart without a camera on me. Why would you not put a camera inside? The only cameras that you'll see inside are internal cameras for them to see. They won't release it to the public. The only footage that they release is a few seconds of them pretending to float around, waving and smiling for the camera so that people, this is how mind control works. They see it and they're like, look, they are in space. I see behind them space, right? As if, these Amazon studios and stuff that they have now that they can't actually fake. I mean, people really think that they can't fake this and just put the images outside of little windows there to make it look like the image of what we're supposed to believe space looks like. Well, of course they did. So that should raise everybody's suspicion right there. And again, the images that they show are a few second images. We should have had footage the entire time. I would have loved to see them get out of their dentist chairs that they're in, right? And I really would have loved to see them get back in the chairs because they show them floating around. Was anybody concerned how they were going to get back into the chairs and when they were going to get back? I mean, it would have been funny footage to see, but you're not allowed to see it because obviously it's not real and they can't even fake it, right? So here's the footage I'm going to play for you that they aired on one Inside Edition, one of these just complete slime ball shows that they put out that worship the urine of celebrities. I mean, they literally worship the ground. Oh, did you hear so-and-so is here? And oh, they're so wonderful, right? I can't believe people watch this stuff. But keep in mind, Oprah was there. That's right, Oprah was there to watch her best friend out in space, and Oprah puts on just a crisis actor level performance by covering her eyes and pretending she's all distraught and afraid this is really happening, right? Standing there with Orlando Bloom, another puppet of the New World Order, right? Doing his all-seeing eye symbolism, same thing, Katy Perry, right? They all got this in common. They always got something in their eye. What's he got, an eye snot today? Is that what's going on, Orlando? And of course, this guy has creepily been on red carpets with Katy Perry, where they've turned themselves into actual aliens. I mean, demons, right? With little demon horns coming out of Katy Perry's head. This guy's eyes and face are all morphed. I mean, it's incredible, right? So I'm going to play the clip for you now, but keep in mind the best part, other than the fake footage, is when Jeff Bezos comes up to this thing after it lands, he falls face first on the ground. It's absolutely hilarious. Take a look at this. Somehow people are actually buying it. This is MK Ultra at its finest.
Gayle King wipes away a tear as she rides along with Katy Perry and 4 other fellow astronauts to the launch pad. One by one, they ring a bell. Gayle, who has a fear of flying, looks terrified.
This is overcoming a wall of fear, a barrier. I think it's going to be cathartic in so many ways for her.
The all-woman crew joined hands in prayer. Then it's time to climb into the capsule.
Go for launch?
Yeah, baby, go for launch, my favorite words.
At 9:30 a.m.,
Liftoff.
the rocket soared into space.
Passing through 80,000 feet, 1,300 miles per hour.
Oprah sobbed.
Oprah watching her best friend go to space.
She and Katy Perry's fiancé, Orlando Bloom, comforted each other. The women experienced 4 minutes of weightlessness. Katy held up a daisy for the camera.
They are floating, they are weightless, they are experiencing zero-G for the very first time in their lives.
They were overwhelmed by what they saw.
Oh, the moon! You guys, I have to tell you, look at the moon. Look.
Then it was time to return to Earth.
Touchdown. Welcome back to Earth.
Amazon founder Jeff Bezos had a little oops moment, face planting while inspecting the capsule. His fiancée, Lauren Sanchez, was the first one out. Gayle raised her hands to the heavens.
I just have to have a moment with the ground.
She got on her hands and knees
Let me just appreciate the ground for just a second.
and kissed the earth. Katy raised her single daisy toward the sky. She took the flower to space to honor her 4-year-old daughter, Daisy, who called out to her mom during the landing.
Just seeing.
Katy! The pop star also kissed the ground.
This experience is second to being a mom.
At a press conference, Gayle was asked about that terrified look on her face.
That moment, I was so afraid. I just wanted to get into my seat. I just wanted to get inside the capsule and sit down. I never in a gazillion years thought I could do this.
Right? So again, we saw Katy Perry holding up the butterfly up there. How come none of these people were wearing helmets? Was anyone concerned about that? They tell you to wear a helmet when you go on a bike ride, right? But they didn't need helmets up there. What if the gravity, they flew their head into the roof? They didn't want to mess their hair, right? Of course, their hair comes back looking perfectly fine. I mean, as fine as it can for, a bunch of dudes. But, I mean, give me a break. They didn't even have helmets on, right? While they were up there. Then they just do this pose so that everyone sees, ooh, look behind them. It looks like what I think space is. And there they all are, waving to the camera. No helmets, wearing, scuba outfits. And and that's all it takes for the mind to look at this and perceive it as reality, because you're told that this is news. If I told you this was from a movie, then you wouldn't think it was actually real. You'd be like, oh, it's a scene from Apollo 13, right? But they show it to you. They tell you this really happened. There's your celebrities on there. Oh, wow, it's incredible, right? Of course, one of the women on board, or, you want to call them that, one of the people on board, in one of the clips that they showed about, leading up in the training, happened to be wearing one of those red bracelets as well, if you didn't notice. They had one of those wonderful red bracelets on so they can let you know who's producing this production, right? And of course, why didn't we get video footage of the splashdown, right? Wouldn't people have wanted to see that? Like, what's going on inside as they're about to smash into the ground, right? With no helmets on. Remind you, no helmets on. This thing lands, and it's not like it floats to the ground. It smashes into the ground. And nobody's got helmets on. Nobody was like, hey, I'd like to wear a helmet on the way down because, I don't feel like getting a concussion, right? All we hear about is all this stuff with concussions now, with athletes, et cetera. They push all this stuff onto people. Oh, everybody's getting... Yeah, they didn't need to wear helmets either. I mean, that's how bad they don't need to fake it. And I really just wanted to show everybody this at the end here. Because as I was looking at what people were saying on Twitter about it, because, again, when you look at some of these social media accounts, it's like looking inside people's minds because they post what they're thinking. So it's incredible that they put this information out and what they really think. Right? So before I even get to look at any Grok just immediately, because of course they're spying on the stuff I'm talking about, Grok, which is Elon Musk's AI demon, put these two things out right when I was looking at it. Ready? Yes, Katy Perry and 5 other women went to space on April 14, 2025 aboard Blue Origin's NS-31 mission. Their jumpsuits had NASA, last name, and Blue Origin feather logo patches, not a Baphomet symbol. There's no evidence this was a PSYOP or meant to mock anyone. It was a legitimate space tourism flight to inspire especially women in STEM. I mean, can you make it up? So Grok, obviously these things are now spying, out in the open. We know they spy on us every day when we're online. That's really what the purpose of it is. But, I just did a video. I showed the Baphomet logo. I showed Space Force with the Baphomet logo. And Grok sees that, listens to that. And look what Grok puts out there. No, it's not a Baphomet symbol. No, it's a Baphomet symbol. It's literally a goat. Flip it upside down. Why would they use a patch that has a spaceship on it that doesn't even look like the spaceship they're in, right? Shouldn't they just put a phallus on the patch, a penis on the patch? Because that's what the space rocket we're told they went in looks like. Doesn't look like what they showed us. Well, that's of course by design, because they're not gonna actually, make sense of what they do and say, oh yeah, well, was it too expensive to make the patches, right? And then this thing goes on to say this. Hey, you're right about the flared pant legs, because I was mentioning the ridiculous costumes that they wore, that they weren't even trying to, they weren't even trying to look like they're going into space, and that, maybe they'll catch fire if they get up too high, helmets, all that stuff. This is what Grok says. Hey, you're right about the flared pant legs on Blue Origin's, Monse suits being a style choice. So I'm glad that was a concern, the style. The zippers, do you think of safety with me? Listen to this. The zippers near the calves let the crew adjust the fit and reveal a cool feather design tied to the Blue Origin logo, right? The witchcraft feather. Adding a branding touch made of flame resistance stretch neoprene. That is not, anyone out there that thinks that what they wore was flame resistant, you got to be joking me. These suits prioritize comfort and fashion for the NS-31 mission's all-female crew. It's a bold move to blend high fashion with space tourism, sparking some debate about style versus function in these suborbital flights. You can't make it up. So the AI is convincing people out there that, mixing in fashion, because this is how dumb society is. They're like, yeah, it is fashionable. Ooh, they're cute. I'd like one. And that's what they're thinking about, fashion, not safety, not about a helmet, not about how their hair was all perfectly done. They had perms, right? They had their face clown paint put on, And then Grok, of course, is telling you, don't worry about the Baphomet symbol. It wasn't the Baphomet. There's no evidence it was a PSYOP. Actually, there's only evidence, Grok, that it was a PSYOP, because there's no evidence that it actually occurred, other than CGI of a ship going up, or whatever it is, a penis rocket going up, and then some parachutes attached to the top of the penis that floated down to the ground and smashed in the ground. And then, of course, you cut the camera and opened it, and they jumped out, right? And they didn't even have helmets on when they smashed into the ground. These crash test dummies, some of these things aren't human. So, maybe, weren't they afraid that some of the green goo or the black goo might have come out of them, when they hit the ground too hard? Right, because they didn't hit the ground. They show you a few select photos. If anything is evidence, you can look at the monarch butterfly, look at the feather and how this is witchcraft, right? The space tourism, how they're going to start branding this, getting this across to you, making you think you can fly into space. But really, in addition to Oprah pretending to cry, how anybody could sit here and make an excuse as to how this entire thing could not have cameras for the public on the inside. You don't have a debate then. These are people who put cameras everywhere. You go through a stoplight, you got a camera up your butt. Go to Walmart, look up, there's cameras. You're on TV, right? Everywhere. And Jeff Bezos couldn't even have stuck a ring in there so that people could have streamed online for, don't they want big ratings and high views? Wouldn't people have tuned in and said, oh, I got to check this out. I want to see what's going on the inside. Or is it because they knew people would check out what's going on the inside and say, this is completely fake? Completely fake. Let's start with how they even got back in their chairs in the first place. And why would they get out of their chair? Oh, because they want to float around. Well, wouldn't they be concerned that they find it almost impossible to get back in these dentist chairs? And then when this thing smashed into the ground, they could die potentially, right? And that's why when they got off of this thing, which they never really were up in, they're all pretending over-the-top dramatic acting, crying, kissing the ground. They're trying to convince you that they just did that. When They didn't do that. So it's an absolute charade. If anybody buys this, I don't know what to say. I really don't. If you buy this stuff, you'll buy pretty much anything. They could probably show the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny on the news and be like, the Tooth Fairy is real. We confirm. They could show the bearded lady inside of someone's home dressed in a tutu and say, look, we caught it's not an intruder, it's the real Tooth Fairy. They just put $20 under the kid's pillow. And these people would believe, they'd be like, the Tooth Fairy is real. Wow, I'm going to put my tooth, You see it on the TV. These people believe it. Incredible. One of the fakest things I've ever seen in my life, from everything I mentioned here and everything I mentioned in my previous video. And again, if you didn't see my previous video, it's linked below. I recommend you go check it out for a good laugh. This is an absolute production of the lowest order. And it's almost like they did this deliberately, right? Where they're like, well, it doesn't even matter because they'll believe it, right? I mean, because you look at this stuff, just like some of these false flags, and we go, how does anyone believe this? It's so bad. The parents are on the TV 5 minutes after their kid goes to school and is dead. They're on TV and they're asking for guns. I mean, what? This is just as bad as that, right? Yeah, we're sending up the first female crew ever for 11 minutes. We're calling them astronauts now. We're talking about space tourism, but we're not going to put cameras inside so you can watch the entire thing unfold. And then people don't go, well, why wouldn't you do that? This is the same guy who's putting rings on everyone's door. You can't do it? The camera can explode because you got cameras inside. Obviously, these other clowns that fake go into space have the cameras inside and show us them pretending to float around on strings and whatever else we always see, right? Well, how come he couldn't do it with these clowns? You just had to give us a few 5-second clips. Like we got 10 seconds of clips of someone going, the moon, and them waving at a camera. And we're supposed to believe you didn't film this in a simulator beforehand? Well, of course you did. The entire thing is a simulation, just like the news. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.